The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Game Toppers, Wild Tuesday Nights, and listeners like you.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from the Duchy of the Duke City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the gateway city, St. Louis, Missouri, it's The Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and probably not role-playing games. Today, the Dukes review Libertalia Winds of Galecrest from Stonemeier Games. Then the Dukes look back at their review of Pan Am in their Dukes Double Take. And now, The Dukes of Dice.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean.
And also Alex.
And you're joining us for episode 270, which we're calling The Unfriendly Skies. That title comes from a certain Steve O'Rourke, the Name Father. We're talking about two games. We're talking about Pan Am, a game about airplanes and airlines. And we're talking about Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest, a pirate-themed game. And so I think we figured out, Alex, the theme, or the motto, the Friendly Skies, that's United Airlines.
Correct.
Proud sponsor of the show. And so just, Steve gave it a little twist because of the pirates. Because, hey, pirates aren't the friendliest of bunches.
All right, wait. On this note, Sean.
Yes.
If an airline sponsored the Dukes of Dice podcast, which airline would it be? Frontier?
Okay, sure, you got it.
I mean, that's not out of preference. That's just out of thinking of who would. Do they have to have flights to both Albuquerque and St. Louis? Because if that's the case, then it would be Southwest.
Southwest. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
This is good stuff.
By the way, we get help naming all of our episodes from our Board Game Geek Guilds, Guild number 2008. We've got some runners up for naming the episode that we'll give you at the end of the episode. And Alex, like you mentioned in what is that called? The pre-show splash, the pre-show dizzle dazzle. I don't know what that's called.
The dizzle dazzle.
The dizzle dazzle.
I'm just imagining the musical Chicago, and instead of razzle dazzle 'em, it's dizzle dazzle 'em.
Dizzle dazzle. Well, as you mentioned, it's a crazy Tuesday night, which is 2 nights sooner than we normally would record the episode. It's also my time, Mountain Time. It's about 9:20 right now, so about 10:20 your time, which is about 3 hours after we would normally start recording the podcast.
This is all very interesting information for folks.
Well, what's going on? Why are we doing this craziness?
So, by the time you hear this, I will have already returned from a board game retreat hosted by a friend of the show, Kyle Wahardo, who helped work as a volunteer for Gray Fox back when I was there, but also has heard the podcast and is generally just a cool guy. So this is going to be my first trip of any kind since Ruby was born. It's a short one. I'm just flying out on a Friday, getting back on a Sunday, but getting in some serious board gaming time because, Sean, my new plays have completely dried up. Like, completely dried up. So I'm excited to get into kind of a convention environment. The vibes are strong. I will say this. It feels sort of like the clouds are lifting. The temperatures in St. Louis getting a little warmer. Things are opening back up in a more full way. The county had already lifted its mask mandate maybe a week or so ago. The city just did so this week here in St. Louis. So things are kind of opening back up, and it's sort of feeling again like it did about a year ago, maybe. Like the chapter is starting to turn again. So I don't know. I'm very much looking forward to the trip. I'm looking forward to getting back out there. I'm looking forward to playing games in that kind of convention-like setting. I'm also looking forward to on Thursday, Sean, and this will affect future recordings, getting back to hockey. That's sort of become the other hobby that has taken up significant brain space, helped keep me sane as I'm just about a year into learning how to play. So that's starting back up again. I'm traveling, and Ruby's in daycare. And Ruby's in daycare and immediately got Abby very sick. Like has had a cold for the last almost full week at this point. I got it for a short period of time. I've got a little touch of it still, but we're getting that full experience early.
Yeah, both Chewy and I have had some pretty wicked sinus infections, and it happened right after because our mask mandate went away, and then the school wasn't requiring it, and like right after, just like clockwork. Like anytime I get sick, Chewy gets sick, and vice versa. And we hadn't been sick for the last 2 years, other than the bout of COVID a month ago. So yeah, pretty wild stuff. So I feel you.
Yeah, and also, Sean, we're not terribly far away. I think we'll have another recording before we get to this point, but not terribly far away from an in-person Dukes of Dice reunion.
Indeed. We'll be out there in St. Louis for the Ben Folds concert, playing with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, which I'm pretty excited about. This will be either my 5th or 6th Ben Folds show. So pretty excited about that. I had a minor freak out because I thought when I looked up, I'm like, oh yeah, what's the date of the concert? It was like Friday, and that's when we fly in, and we fly in like 2 hours before the show. And I'm like, how did I do that? Why would I have done that? Now it turns out the show was Saturday. There's 2 shows. It's just the Saturday show sold out, so it didn't pop up. But once I checked my tickets, but I was I was freaking out, and you were kind of mocking me, which is fair. I'd be doing the same to you if the situation were reversed. So
yeah, if I were flying out to Albuquerque for Fen Bolds, then yeah, I could absolutely see how if that situation were reversed, it would be odd. Anyway, so those are all interesting, fun things coming up in the near term. So yeah, I'm feeling good. How about you?
Good, busy. This has been a pretty crazy court week. So it's been 2 12-hour days so far. And with at least one more. I think tomorrow will probably be a 12-hour day too. And then Friday I'll be able to take it easy. And by easy, I mean catch up on probably a couple hundred emails. But other than that, everything's great. You know what? Okay, here's what I need. I need some very positive vibes from the Greater Duchy. I can't say about what, and I probably won't know for another 2 months. But something very big for the business is on the verge of happening. So I just need good. This is vague podcasting, but I need good vibes sent my way. This is
you hiring another attorney, almost certainly. Yes.
No,
it's different.
I let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that.
Oh,
so good vibes from the Greater Duchy is what I need over the next month. So every day I want you all to wake up. First thing you do. How can I send out positive mental energy to help Sean? And then before you go to bed, same thing. And then every hour on the hour while you're awake, please and thank you.
Okay. I'm not going to do that, but maybe someone will.
I wouldn't expect you to. It would have the opposite effect.
Yeah. I wish bad vibes upon. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't wish bad vibes upon you, Sean. Never.
Yeah.
All right, games. And the one play I have on here that's new, Sean, is actually a shared experience in many ways.
And so I'm going to call an audible, Alex. So I have 2 games I could talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm saving one for next week, but I think I'm going to save both of them for next episode.
Okay.
Just because it doesn't make sense. It's fine. It's fine. We want to keep this portion of the recording a little bit shorter because it's way past my bedtime. So
yeah, you're a very tired man. I can see.
I'm very tired.
So what we're referring to is something that you would have had to be paying attention on the guild to know about. Partly because we forgot to mention it on the show, and actually entirely because we forgot to mention it on the show.
We did.
Yeah, no, didn't say anything about it at all. So our apologies in advance to Christmas show. Former host of Flip the Table, phenomenal podcast, designer of Roll Estate, a really cool roll and write you can check out. This game that he was running for us, Sean, that you would have had to be in the Duchy, in the guild to know about, was a game called Mall Night Long. Let's wind the clock back a little bit. About a year ago at this time, Chris was running Price is Right games. He was running Price is Right online. And it was, if you ever listened to Flip the Table, which was a phenomenal podcast about cheesy, weird, and obscure board games, this was that brought to life. It is an online game show experience hosted over Zoom. And I know for so many folks listening, the thought of Zoom immediately connotes like, oh, another virtual meeting. I'm over it. I'm done with it. Or this feels like work. This is among the best things I did on Zoom last year. So we had booked him he had created an entirely new original IP, Mall Night Long. It's kind of, I don't think it's directly based off of, but it seems inspired by some of the mall-based game shows that you would have seen back in the day. I can't remember what it was, like Shop Till You Drop or something like that. There were a couple of ones.
Yeah, there were
like
a handful.
TV set malls. Yeah. So this is cheesy, weird, and obscure kind of thing. No actual prizes at stake, but we divvied up, Sean, and it was an Alex versus Sean toe-to-toe battle. What's cool about this is he's created 2 full episodes, and it feels a lot like a game show with little breaks and individual games. We don't want to spoil too much of it, but we can kind of talk about the overall vibes of the show. It's a mix of word games. There's an audio game in there, and there are some redone versions of classic flip the table game shows involving IMDb scores and eBay pricing that are kind of worked into this new shop thing. Teams go head to head and gather points. Sean, this was quite the battle we had.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. We had a bunch of people from the Duchy that came in and participated. But ultimately, Alex, Team Sean took it away.
So this was a moment. It was we were in your heads, quite frankly, up until the very late stages of this, when on one of the last questions of the last game before the finale, you basically said, they're in our heads. We're not going to figure this out ourselves. We're overthinking this. I'm just going to flip a coin.
It was, and just to be clear, without giving anything away, it was a pricing game. So how much, so one team, your team would say, we think this sold for X dollars. And then my team has to say whether we think that it's actually lower or higher than that.
Right. And you just had kind of given up. You'd thrown in the towel. So you flipped a coin over some teammates' objections.
And keep in mind, this is like weird stuff. This is stuff that, and again, without spoiling things, very, very unique things that are just weird stuff that you start to make some sort of rationale why someone would pay way more money than it might look like it's worth on the surface, or vice versa, right? And then you start to come up with like all of these reasonings, like, oh, well, maybe if a certain collector and a certain, yeah. And so we were like just wrong. We were just completely wrong on a bunch of these things. We started off good. We were in the lead early on, and then just totally were in our own heads and screwed it up. So yeah, the coin was what did it.
Yeah, you flipped a coin. You kind of let fate take over and ended up being correct off of the coin toss. And that the momentum, we never got it back in the final game. To say you picked in such a way to rub our imminent defeat in our faces is an absolutely exact, accurate description of what occurred. And so it went from in the lead comfortably to crushing defeat at the end of Mall Night Long. So Team Sean, congrats. It was well played. I'm very bitter about it because in the one time we had Chris on the show last year, I was able to defeat you in this matchup. So in any case, it was
I won.
No,
I was the
on
individual...
the show. No.
Oh, on the show, on the podcast.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your birthday. Sorry.
No. Come on.
That's where it counted. As long as I win on your birthday, that's all I care about.
I can only win when it's recorded. So
sure.
All of this is to say, if you're looking for something, I think the game hosts anywhere technically from 2 to 12. You'd probably want at least, I'd say 6. Probably 6 to 8 would be the sweet spot for this game if I had to guess. But if you want to try it out, reach out to Chris. He's at TableFlipsU on Twitter. You can book that way. A ton of fun. Everyone seemed to really enjoy themselves. It was a good, solid 2-hour event that we really got into. So, yeah.
And keep in mind, it's a full like multimedia experience. I mean, he put a ton of work, a ton of effort into this, and it was a ton of fun. I mean, he's a fantastic host. I think it's very dependent on your group, right? You need to go in there like realizing nothing's truly at stake except for bragging rights. But if you're the right person, bragging rights mean everything. So it's a lot of what the players bring to it, but that's not to say that Chris doesn't do an amazing job hosting, because he's fantastic. So I'll put a link in the show notes. So if you want to check out how you can do that, you definitely should. It's highly recommended.
He brings a ton of energy. He brings a ton of flair. If you have even a remote appreciation for the cheesy, he brings a ton of cheese to the party. That is his MO. And if you're ever a Flip the Table fan, this is an absolute must. And even if you are not, and you're a gamer and you like games, which if you're listening to this, you probably are, it's probably going to be a good fit with the right group. So, that's Mall Night Long. Check it out. And bummer you missed it if you poke on the guild a little bit too late on this one. That's why you should be a member of the Dukes of Dice Guild number 2008. Any case.
Yeah. Well, so in lieu of talking about a game, Alex, so I want to do a couple things first before we throw it over to the review.
Ooh.
So first off, Alex, I need to know where are you going to be the weekend of the weekend of July 16th.
Is this a SeanCon weekend?
It's the SeanCon weekend. Ellie reached out to me, Andy, and Mitch, and said we're doing SeanCon, and we've got it down for that weekend. So just throwing it out there, Alex. It would be great for you to attend a SeanCon in all its glory.
This would be a first. I've been in town at the same time as a SeanCon, but have not actually attended a SeanCon formally. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll mark it down on my calendar. You're holding my feet to the fire on the show. So
and then we spent the rest of the day talking about how the hot dogs we got from Clown Dog over in Nob Hill just made us sick for the rest of the day, but they were so delicious. Okay, so we're gonna toss it over to me and and maybe someone to review Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. But so as of now, I don't know who's reviewing it with me, and it might just be myself.
Oh no, Sean. Oh, Sean. Oh, you can't do this to the listeners. Come on now.
A couple almost a week ago, I asked Raquel. Raquel's been on the show before. She's done a review before. She doesn't love it. She really doesn't love it. And I said, if you want to, I'd be more than happy to. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. So I I texted our buddy Matt Walker, one half of Wham, because he got in on the first play of Libertalia, and he's played the original game too, quite a bit. And I said, hey buddy, want to review Libertalia with me sometime this week? Now, we come back to that text. So meanwhile, this is technically the off week for Dukes of Dice Wednesday night at Empire. So we were trying to schedule another coin game. And we're going to do another game of Cuba Libre. And so I said, hey, I really need to get some more plays of Libertalian. Could we do at least one before Cuba Libre? And then I'll get some others in later in the week. And he agreed. Lynn agreed. And then Rory said I could be talked into Boone Lake and Libertalia this Wednesday. And we'll save Cuba Libre for its own day. Do you know anything about Boone Lake from Capstone Games?
Heard of it. I don't. Yeah, I know the designer. I know who it's from.
Alexander Pfister.
Yeah, exactly.
I've watched it. I watched about half a game of it last Wednesday night, and I'm just like, you know what? I have zero desire to play Boone Lake. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the midweight Euro. Not a thing. But anyway, so So Matt texts me, completely ignores my request to review Libertalia, and is asking if we're in agreement to not play Boone Lake. So he's completely ignored me. So we'll see. I'll follow up with him tomorrow, and I'm sure I could twist his arm. But it maybe I'll do something fun. Maybe I'll do like, if it's just me, I'll do a weird voice and two different Seans reviewing Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest.
This could be a good idea or unlistenable.
Probably the latter.
How about this? You finish up a play of Libertalia, and then you have a surreptitious recorder, because New Mexico is a one-party consent state, and
that's true.
And you just ask people their thoughts at the end of it, and but in the segments, you're like, hey, so was this easy to learn? How were the art and components? Like, you just kind of go topic by topic.
We did that once. We did that early on in the podcast.
Oh,
we were at Active Imagination after a play of something. I think it was, but we didn't wind up using it.
Okay.
I think it was our first episode. I think we did it for what's the
Istanbul.
There you go. Yeah, I think we did it, but we didn't wind up using it.
Probably because our audio was terrible.
Yeah, maybe that too.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah. So that's our recent plays, sort of, and that's some background into what you're about to hear for the featured review of Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest, after the break.
Well, Sean, the Game Toppers 3.0 Kickstarter is in the books, and thanks to a whole bunch of backers, Game Toppers had a heck of a Kickstarter campaign, more than $800,000 raised to get more Game Toppers, new features, all sorts of fun stuff headed folks' way.
Wait, did you say 800,000?
I did say that amount. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's a ton of money.
Sean, did you make it in time? Are you part of that group?
It's over? It's over? Like over?
No, it's done. I'm sorry you missed your window. But the good news, Sean, is that if you keep an eye on the Game Toppers LLC website, the late pledge manager should be open in the near future. Take a look there, and you can still get in on all the fun, get the newest features, get yourself a Watson, or get yourself, I don't know, whatever you want. Awesome game mats, rails, something cool to really take your gaming experience to the next level without getting a fully dedicated gaming table, which is exactly what Game Toppers is all about. Check them out, GameToppersLLC.com, because if it ain't a showstopper, it ain't a Game Topper.
All right, Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest, published by Stonemeier Games, designed by Paolo Mori, with art by Lamaro Smith. Let me read to you a description here from Stonemeier. In the world of Galecrest, sky pirates set sail on the winds in search of adventure, treasure, and glory. As an admiral, you command a vast and varied crew, but so do your rivals, sailing other ships in the pirate fleet. Each day, the fleet lands on a different island where you'll send a crew member to collect your share of the loot, hoping they'll return to boost your growing group of characters. Libertalia was originally released in 2012. 10 years later, Libertalia Winds of Galecrest celebrates the foundations of the original design with a revised and expanded edition that includes all new art, 40 characters per player, a reputation system to resolve tiebreakers, deluxe loot tokens, a robust solo mode, and much more. All right, so yeah, let's talk about how to play Libertalia. This is, generally speaking, a multiplayer game that plays up to 6 players, although, as you heard in the description, there is a solo mode. This is a Stonemeier game, so they're a Toma factory that they're associated with. Of course, they're adding that in. But generally, I think of this as a multiplayer game, and I'll say now that I haven't played the solo mode. So in this game, you are trying to have the highest score at the end of 3 voyages. There are multiple days that will occur in each of these voyages. The score is generally contributed to by collecting loot, and then by also some varying card effects, which I'll go into in more detail here in a second. Okay, so as I said, there are multiple voyages, and in the first voyage, there are 4 days. In the second voyage, there are 5 days, and then 6 days in the final voyage. And the turn structure is pretty similar, well, really identical. in each of the days. You're going to have initially a hand of 6 cards. Everyone has their own deck. Same cards, same abilities. They're all numbered from 1 to 40. And you're going to randomly have one player shuffle up their deck and pull out 6 cards. Everybody then has to search their own deck for those same 6 cards. So everyone has the same hand to begin with at the start of the first voyage. And so then simultaneously, everyone's going to choose one of their available cards, put it face down. You're then going to flip them over and put them in ascending order based on that number, again, that they're all assigned 1 through 40. Now, in the event of a tie, in the old game, there was also, I think it was a letter, another letter that was different for each deck, for each of the cards, and that's how you broke the tie. This version adds in a reputation track. And so the farther to the right you are on the reputation track, the farther to the right your tied character card that you chose will go onto the island, is where we're putting these characters. And there are ways to manipulate the reputation track. It's basically kind of a new commodity resource that the cards interact with. Some of the cards interact with in certain ways. So that's an interesting thing. So you then line those all up, lowest to highest, breaking ties on the reputation track. And then from lowest to highest, you resolve any day effects. So these pirate characters, they have art on them, but then they also have some sort of effects. So the day effects get resolved now. And the day effect might say, get some money. It might say remove a character from someone's ship. A lot of different options here. So you do that left to right, lowest to highest. And then it's the dusk phase. And the primary thing that happens in the dusk phase is you are getting one of the available loot tokens that's on that particular day. So at the start of the game, start of the voyage, for each day, there's a little box, and you're going to pull out a number of loot tokens equal to the number of players. You place those out, and then in the dusk phase, you select those from highest to lowest. So now we're going right to left. And additionally, if your card has a dusk effect on it, or more than likely, the loot that you take might have a dusk effect, you then perform that. Now, any characters that are remaining on the island are going to come back to your ship, which is basically kind of your tableau, your playing area. And generally speaking, you're going to get your character back, but there may be certain day effects, dusk effects. For example, one of the loot tokens is a saber. And depending on which version of the saber you're using, because there are calm and stormy variants that affect what the different loot tokens do. But a saber may wipe or may kill somebody that was on the island. And so that player, when it comes to them, is no longer able to loot something if they're killed after the saber resolve. Plus, that character goes to that player's graveyard, does not go to their ship. Now, you care about things being in your ship because there are certain cards that might have night effects, and these night effects resolve every night during a voyage. So if you have in turn day 1 of voyage 1, if you have a card with a night effect that says get a doubloon, you're going to get a doubloon every night phase as long as that character is still on your ship. And also, certain cards may trigger off other cards being your pirate ship. So, for example, there's one card that says, for every character in your ship that is ranked higher than 21, you're going to gain some doubloons. So lots of little synergies, and that's part of the fun of the game is you're trying to figure out those synergies and the order to play them and things like that. Okay, so once you've done that, you've now completed a day. You, at least in the first voyage now, generally speaking, you're going to have 5 cards left. Again, there are things that might affect cards going to your hand, going back to your hand, but generally speaking, you're going to have 5 cards for the next day. You're going to repeat that. You're going to repeat that for all the days in voyage 1. Once you have finished that voyage, then there are end of voyage, these anchor effects that some cards might have. So it might say, hey, this guy survived till the end of the voyage. You're going to get 10 doubloons for him surviving there. Of course, realizing that people may be trying to play cards that affect characters in your pirate ship because they don't want you to get that particular payout. But you're going to do those end of day effects, end of voyage effects. Additionally, a lot of the loot will have an end of voyage effect, which is basically giving you some doubloons. So let's talk about the loot. There are maps, there are barrels, there are relics, there are sabers, there are hooks, there are chests, and there are amulets. They're all different colors, and they've got different iconography. They're pretty easily distinguished from one another. So let me give you an example of what some of these might do. Again, there's different variants here. So there's a version of the chest that just says at the end of the voyage, gain $5. There's a version of the hook that says keep a character in your ship for the next voyage, or you gain $2. And I should point out now that basically at the end of a voyage, any characters in your ship go to your graveyard. So they don't stay there for subsequent voyages. The amulet can just be worth $3. The maps, so there's one variant where for each set of 2 maps you have, it's worth 7 doubloons. For each set of 3, it's worth 12. There's another version where whoever has the most maps is going to get, I think it's 8, and then they discard their loot, or their maps, but everyone else gets to keep their maps. The barrel gets you 1, but it also during the dusk may gain you a reputation, for example. So there's, like I said, there's different. There's basically 2 sides to the board. There's a stormy board. There's a calm board, but then there's also these overlay tiles where you can kind of mix and match, and there's other abilities too that just adds to the variability of the game. So based on that, then you're going to have hopefully a bunch of doubloons. All those doubloons that you have accumulated for that voyage, they go on to your little dial score tracker. So you've essentially locked those in, because there are things that are going to happen throughout a voyage where you may gain, you may lose doubloons, but once they're on your score tracker, they're on your score tracker. Then you discard all of your doubloons and you go to the next voyage. I should point out too that depending on where you're at on the reputation track, it's going to give you different starting money. So the lower on the reputation track, the more money you're going to get. The higher, the less doubloons you're going to get to start the voyage. All right, so now going into voyage 2, that one player that shuffled their deck, they're going to now pick 6 new cards. Everyone's going to, not pick, but randomly deal out. And then everyone's going to look at those numbers, pull out those identical 6 cards from their own deck, place them into the hand with any remaining cards. Because if you remember, there were 4 days in the first voyage and 6 cards, so they have 2 cards remaining. And it's interesting because now everyone's hand is probably slightly different because they've played different cards. They have different cards remaining from the previous voyage. They're then going to play out now 5 days for that voyage, doing all of the things we talked about before. End of voyage, go into voyage 3, find 6 new cards, add those in, play out that voyage over 6 days, and then whoever has the highest score at the end is the winner of Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest. All right, so let's talk about expectations here. Actually, I should probably say a couple things first. Number one, hey, it's me doing the solo. All right, well, it is what it is. I should also mention that this was a review copy from Stonemeier Games. Generally speaking, whenever we are reviewing a Stonemeier game, Alex likes to sit it out just because he has a friendship relationship with Jamie Stegmaier from Stonemeier. Perfectly understandable. And of course, there's the fact this was a review copy. So I just like to have all of that information out there so people can evaluate what I have to say about the game in light of that. But I generally will give a very forthright and honest review. So let's do that. Expectations. We'd like to talk about expectations first. So Libertalia is a game, the original Libertalia, the 2012 game. I think I probably picked that up in 2013, and it's a game that we played a ton of in the early days of the Duchy. Hadn't played it a lot recently, but it's a game that has stayed in my collection through multiple callings, through very aggressive callings. It stayed in the collection because it's a game that I enjoyed, and it's a game that I highly enjoyed. I think it's it's really great at higher player counts. A lot of games, especially like Euros, I don't really like to play it more than 3. A coin game's got to be 4 players, but Libertalia plays up to 6, and I think it plays best at least 5, at that 5 or 6 mark. It's just a great. It's not a party game, but it accommodates a high player count, and so I appreciate that. So yeah, I heard that this was coming out, and I'm like, oh, okay, 10 years, that's a decent amount of time for a second edition to come out. Oh, Stonemeier's doing it. Great. I love Stonemeier games. I love Stonemeier Productions. Palamori, the original designer, is still involved. So I've got pretty decent expectations. I saw the art. It's a very different art style than the original Libertalia. The Libertalia game kind of looked like Pirates of the Caribbean, just very traditional, 17th, 18th, 19th century pirates, I think. But this is more fanciful. I mean, now we have these flying airships, and there's these animal crew members. So it's a very different art style. It's a slightly different theming, and I didn't have too much of opinion on that initially, but certainly interested in checking this out. And I think even when Alex talked about having played this right before the embargo lifted, I said, is this something that I need to own as an owner of the original game? Do I need to pick up this new game? And I'll address that, I think, in my final thoughts as well. So, all right, let's talk. My rulebook fell. Let's talk about. Nope, that's the Atoma. Hold on. I'm coming, folks. I'm coming. Rulebook fell. Whew. All right. Let's talk about the rulebook. First off, can I say that this is a normal 12 by 12 by 3-inch box? Normally, a lot of companies would put a big 12 by 12 rulebook. They didn't do that here. God bless, Jamie. I hate those 12 by 12 rulebooks so much. This is like a smaller, I don't know why I'm telling you like inches for rulebook sizes, but I prefer this rulebook size because it sits on the table with the rest of the game and it's not taking up a ton of space. It's there when you need to reference it. Overall, it's hard to say because I already knew how to play this game, right? Even though I hadn't played it in a while, I probably could have played the original game with a quick 2-minute refresher from the rulebook and had it set up and be ready to go. So it was certainly easy for me to quote unquote learn this game from the rulebook because I already had a solid foundation in it. I think it's a solid rulebook. There's a bit of a wall of text from time to time, but it's not a super complicated game. I think it's pretty easy to have learn this game from the rulebook if you're coming in completely fresh. All right, so that's rulebook. Let's talk art and components. Component-wise, this game is incredible. Stonemeier has always done a fantastic job with components, and this is no different. So when it comes to the loot tokens, you've got this little cloth bag. You can hear it here. These nice, I don't know if they're like Bakelite or plastic tokens, whatever it is. But plastic tokens, they look like little starburst. Good iconography, good, bright, vibrant colors. They easily distinguish. I think they're great. You've got the reputation markers, which are these nice, chunky, hexagonal wood cubes. The board is a good size. It's enough to accommodate basically 6 spots on the top of the island, plus slots for the different days where the loot's going to go, plus the reputation track. And then also at the bottom of the board is a description of all of the loot effects, which again, you can then overlay with good quality cardboard overlay. Everyone gets this little chest, which is basically 2 dials. So you can have your score, and then really good, really solid quality cardstock, linen finish on all the different decks for the characters. You get these nice coins in a nice plastic container. Now, the only slight issue is that there will be, there aren't a lot of the coins. And most of the time, that's perfectly fine. They come in denominations of 1, 3, and 5. And because you're discarding the coins at the doubloons at the end of a voyage and just adding that to your score, in theory, it's not really a problem that there aren't a lot of coins. And there will be some rounds that will be low doubloon gathering rounds, and there'll be some that are really high. And during those really high rounds, you're going to be like needing to make change a lot more often with other people, or it's not a huge deal. And it's probably about just right, but every now and then there's an outlier where you may not have sufficient coins. But again, I think it's an outlier. So yeah, overall, I think the component quality is excellent. Really, really good components. So as I said before, the art is by Lamaro Smith, and I am not particularly familiar. Let's see. He did Jinja, he did Murder on the Cosmic Express. He has an art style that is reminiscent to me of Ryan Lockett. And so this is, I think it looks good. I think the art looks good. I think he did a very good job. I don't know. I think I prefer kind of the more realistic art from the original Libertalia. And I think that's just a personal preference. I don't think it hurts the game. I know when I played with Matt, who's not here to review this, but for him it hurt the game. I think he wasn't crazy about the art style, but for me it's just a matter of preference. So it's by no means bad. I mean, I think the art is solid, but I just don't know that I prefer the fanciful version of this. I think I liked just kind of the old school, like I said, Pirates of the Caribbean pirate theme and art of the previous edition. So that's just me. All right, well let's talk about gameplay. This game is a game of chaos, and I think it does it well. So it kind of reminds me in some ways of like Occult Express, where you're programming certain cards in, and that's kind of what this is doing. You're programming one card at a time, and you're hoping that things are resolving in an order of your choice. So, but very often your plan just goes to crap because everyone else is being chaotic as well. So a lot of times the priority is, okay, I would like to. There's say it's a 4-player game. I would like. Of the 4 available loot tokens, I would really like the chest, because that's going to be worth 5 gold. That's really good. I would also be happy with a map, because I see that maybe there are maps later in the voyage that I could pick up and get some good points for. But then there's also a hook, and it might be in this version that we're playing, the hook, when you take that loot token. And by the way, taking a loot token is not optional. If there's a loot token and it's your turn, you have to take it. So for example, like I said, the hook in one version of the hook may make you discard the character that obtains that token, and it's really worth nothing else, save for some other card effects that may give value to hook tokens. And so you're like, okay, well, I definitely don't want to lose this character, because this particular character that I have is going to have some beneficial effect during the night phase. So I need to make sure I'm not going to play such a super low character that is going to put me in danger of getting the hook card, right? And then maybe also at the end, or not the end, but the fourth available amulet, or excuse me, the fourth available loot is a relic, which is going to have some sort of negative effect. Like I said, there's one version where you lose 3 if you still have the relic at the end of the voyage. There's another version that just has you lose, I think, 1 gold, but every night phase. And keep in mind too, there are ways to get rid of loot tokens that you've already acquired. But part of it is, okay, I really want to have some effect on which of the loot tokens and the priority I'm going to have on those loot tokens. So maybe I want to play this higher valued card. But shoot, what if everyone's going to play a higher value card? And so there's a little bit of second guessing there. But then there's also not just the loot, but I want to set up a little bit of an engine. There's a slight engine building that occurs here, because depending on what you're putting in your ship, depending on the order that you're playing the cards out, will affect what other benefits you get. Getting the loot tokens by itself is not the only way to get money, to get the doubloons. So you have to really think about all those factors. You have to think a little bit in subsequent days what other players have played. Think about what's in their pirate ship. So like there's one card, and I'm looking for it here, that says when it comes into play, or sorry, not when it comes into play, I'm thinking Magic now. The day effect, here it is, the Carpenter, number 11. The day effect is lose half of your doubloons rounded down. And you think, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want a card that says, lose half of your doubloons? Keep in mind, it may come to a point where you're like, I have to play this card. But there is an upside to it, because if this survives till the end of the voyage, then you gain 10 doubloons. So if you're already low on doubloons and you're losing half of them, you can net quite a bit of doubloons there. Like if I've got 6 doubloons, sure, I'll lose 3 and then I'll gain 10. So I net 7 from that. That's fantastic. But of course, people are going to be keeping an eye on that, keeping an eye on what's on other players' ships. And if there's a card in the mix, a character in the mix that can potentially get characters out of ships that have already been played, or maybe the version of the Sabers in play that gets rid of characters from ships, you have to watch out for that. So I may not want to play the Carpenter early because then there's a target on his head. I may want to play the Carpenter late, but also if I'm going to play him late, I may have gathered more doubloons, and losing half my doubloons, if I've got 12, I lose 6 and gain 10. Well, that's still a net benefit, but it's not as much of a net benefit as it might be otherwise. So there are things like that you need to look out for. I think I mentioned before, there's a card that cares about the freed prisoner. At the end of each night, gain 1. This is number 20, by the way. Gain 1 for each character in your ship with a rank higher than 20. If you ever gain 3 or more this way during a single night, discard the freed prisoner. So you may say, okay, I want to play some higher value characters that are going to then sit there in my ship. And it's great because I'll have a higher priority for getting loot those first couple rounds. And then I'll play freed prisoner in, say, round 3 or day 3. And then I'll be able to get 2 loot for however many days are left. And maybe you see the freed prisoner in voyage 1 and you say, well, wait a second. If I hold on to the freed prisoner, because maybe I don't have enough cards in play that are level higher than level 20, maybe I want to hold on to this for the next voyage. So I keep this in my hand and I'm kind of crafting my hand to set it up. Plus, in subsequent voyages, there are more days, right? Voyage 1 has 4 days, voyage 2 has 5 days, voyage 3 has 6 days. So maybe I want more night phases essentially to get the benefit from this. So those are all things that you're taking into account. Like I said, there are 40 different characters here. You've got the governor at the top with number 40, who's this big, cool-looking gorilla. We never actually got to play with the governor in any of the games I played. The governor says, as a day effect, discard all characters from your ship. Gain 1 reputation for each character discarded in this way. And that may be, again, good or bad, or even neutral. That may be where you're like, I really need the reputation. Plus, if you've maxed out on reputation, you just get a coin for every reputation you would have gained, but couldn't. But it also could be that you have a bunch of characters that do have a negative effect in your ship. So like, for example, the aristocrat, who's number 34, has an end of voyage effect that says, if you're the only player to have the aristocrat in your ship, you gain 5. But otherwise, so if there are multiple aristocrats in ships, each of those players loses 3. There's the quartermaster, who has a day effect that says, gain a doubloon for each of your loot tokens, but at the end of the voyage, lose 6. So maybe you want to have played your quartermaster. You've got, 3, 4 loot tokens. You get $1 for each of those, but you don't want to lose the 6. So you play your governor to basically get rid of your quartermaster. So there's no negative effect at the end of the voyage. It's really incredible how you're looking at your starting hand and what is my strategy for making the best out of these cards, for making the best engine. And then again, the sort of chaos, the randomness of what loot tokens will come into play. Because again, some of those loot tokens are just worth doubloons, but others have some sort of an effect on the resolution of getting the loot tokens for other people, resolution of, or not resolution, but the affecting of the various ships of the other players or your own ship. It is a really cool puzzle. And it's a puzzle where you have to also kind of play on the fly. Things didn't go as planned this particular day. And so now I need to kind of pivot. Do I have the cards that I need to pivot? There are plenty of times where I was banking on this character in my pirate ship doing a certain thing for me during the night phases, or expecting them to be there at the end of the voyage, but they got sabered. And that's the other cool thing too, is there's a bit of politics here, and table talk that occurs, because so what, like with the saber that affects a character in a pirate ship, that only affects players on your left or your right. And so you want to say, hey, yeah, you could attack this particular guy that's going to give me, 6 doubloons at the end of the voyage. But look, I'm behind this player by 15 already. What's 6, going to do me? Or I'm far enough behind, whatever. So there's a bit of this table talk and politics, kind of like in a game of Commander and Magic, that I think is great. Like I really enjoy that in games that I play. I always have. So this is still a fantastic game that I really, really do enjoy. And I think the gameplay is great. If you are somebody that doesn't like chaos, then this may not be the game for you. Our buddy Matthew, the other half of Wham, he did not play this particular version, but back in the early days of the Duchy, we played the old version, and it just stressed him out to no end. Just the chaos of it, the fact that you couldn't really count on anything. He just didn't enjoy it. And so I would say that if you don't like those kind of more chaotic games, where you have this great plan, you have this long strategy planned out with some tactics thrown in for immediate actions, but then that can all just blow up in your face basically, then this may not be the game for you. But if you have a relatively moderate tolerance for chaos, I think this is a fantastic game. And again, a game that plays really well at 5 or 6. That's not a longer Euro. That's not a party game, but is still a fairly snappy game. I mean, in the past, we used to play a couple games of this back to back because they're fairly short. And I think there's a really interesting, like I was saying before, a really interesting puzzle in trying to maximize your cards, maximize the loot. And I know that after I play a game of this, I'm more than happy to play again, because I really like that puzzle. I really like that optimization aspect of the game, where you're just trying to eke out these advantages. And this game does that really well. So let's talk about theme. I'm not crazy about the skyship, animal, pirate, fanciful theme. And again, I mentioned this before, it really is more of just a preference thing, and that's fine. I don't, in no way would I ever tell anyone to say, oh, no, skip this edition. You need to go out and you need to find the out of print 2012 edition, because I like the art and the theme, and the style of pirates better. No way. Like this is a fantastic edition. And again, the art is good. I don't want to take away from the quality of the art. It's just a matter of preference here. I can see a reason why Jamie didn't want to just say, okay, we're gonna update the mechanics and we're just gonna slap it on, the old theme and the old, all of that. And part of it too, and I don't know, this is just pure speculation, but part of it too is I think if it were simply the old art and the old theme, and it was just an update of the mechanics, I think somebody in my position that owns the old version, that enjoys the old version, would be less likely to get the updated second edition. I think that this was probably a good choice, because I very well may be in the minority in terms of the preference of the art and the theme, or the differing pirate theme. And so it was probably a smart choice. I mean, again, this is just a matter of personal preference for me. What I will also say is there is a strong thematic connection between what the card is and what the card can do. We talked about the governor, who basically, the governor is not really a pirate, right? The governor is getting rid of all of the pirates on your ship. They've come in with some nationalities navy and killed all the pirates basically. And there's a lot of that in here. So like there's a mutineer. The mutineer has a night effect of discarding the lowest ranking character in your ship, and then you gain money for it. Um, there's the brute, who's this big minotaur looking dude. Uh, Day effect that says discard the rightmost character on the island. That character's owner gains 1 reputation. They're on the island and they're beating up other people. There's the thief. Take 1 loot token. This is a day effect. Take 1 loot token from an adjacent player's ship. If you do, lose 2 reputation, and on and on. I mean, there's 40 cards in here, and there's a very strong mechanic, thematic link between what they are and what their card does. So I think it's great. I think that's fantastic. All right, let's see what the guild had to say. So BJ from Board Game Gumbo, he said that he got his copy of Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest on the way. Can't wait to play because the original was one of my favorite games for years. BJ, I don't think you'll be disappointed in any way, shape, or form. And then Adam Dalton said, I've played the old Libertalia a single time. It was on Board Game Arena. It was not remarkable. However, I feel like in person it would be much more enjoyable. So I'd like to play the new version, but won't really be seeking it out. And then BJ responded to that, and I'm going to echo what BJ has to say here. He says to Adam, your instinct is spot on. The Board Game Arena implementation is fine, but lacks the tension and tactics that playing it in person brings. Much more enjoyable and sneaky on a real table, especially with people you know. 100% agree with that. I would have almost zero desire to play this online. It's just such a fun, group game. The tension that BJ talks about is totally there. The joking, the laughter. Like there are some games that are implemented really well online or digitally or whatever, and that's fine. I just don't think this is one of them, and it has nothing to do with the implementation, just the nature of what the underlying game is like. And I think that's kind of the takeaway for Baker Mitchell. Libertalia is well designed, and the key to enjoying it is playing it with the right group of people. Not you, Matthew. Sorry, Matthew. But yeah, I think that's really important. All right. Well, time for final thoughts. And I should mention that here at the Dukes of Dice, we rate everything on a 6-point scale. 1 is poorly designed but playable, not necessarily fun. 6 is an all-time favorite that's a contender for the top 10. So let's take a look here. Let me kind of talk this through. So what I'll say is this game is not a 6. It is not a contender for my top 10. I don't know that it ever was. I don't know that it ever would be or could be. It's definitely not a 1, 2, or 3. So it's either a 4 or a 5. 4 is a good game, worth playing, just not all the time, belongs in the duchy. I don't think it's a good game. I think it's a great game. And this second edition, I think, is still a great game. So really, that's going to make it a 5. A great game will rarely turn down a play of it. I would. So what I have to ask is, does the theme and the differing art style, does that drop it from a 5 to a 4? And no, I can't say that. I really can't. This is a great game. It has been a great game. Since my old version has been around, certainly it's gotten lost in the shuffle. It's a game that we're not going to play here at home because my preference has always been to play it at a higher player count. I should say that for this review, I only played it at 3 players and 4 players. And I got to tell you, I liked it still at 3 and 4. I remember playing the original version back in the day at 3 players, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at the lower player count. I liked the added chaos at higher player counts. But I think for whatever reason, I don't know if something's changed with me. I don't know that there's any difference in the mechanics that make this better now at lower player counts than it was in the past. So I think it's just a personal thing for me. But I'll play this at 3. I'll play this, and certainly I'll play this at 5 or 6. I don't know that I want to play this at 2, and I don't know that I'll ever really play the solo, the Atoma version. And that's just a matter of preference. Now, the question for me is, what am I doing with these two copies? And I think that's important. So kind of in, we talk about how our ratings are not in a vacuum. They're very much based on preference. Obviously, they're very much based on, how does this interact with other games in our collection? How likely are we to bring this out? And Libertalia, and this is kind of what I was getting at before, because I prefer to play it at higher player counts. We just don't have a lot of people over to play games anymore like we used to. And so Libertalia had not come out here. Is this something that that I'm going to keep both copies? I don't know. That's hard to say. I don't have the space for that. I just don't. This is a tough decision for me because there are things that I like more about the original, the art and the differing theme, the kind of original old school pirate theme. And then there are things that I like about this game better, like the reputation track. I think the reputation track is fantastic. Again, it's another commodity of sorts that your card play and your token selection can interact with. And it takes out just sort of the randomness from the original where we both played the same character, but for whatever reason, your version of the character is A, my version of the character is B, so you're going to get the higher priority. And it's all random and it's all kind of evenly distributed, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. And this is a much more elegant solution. I think it's great. And so really it's going to come down to and keep in mind, a lot of the cards are similar, but again, there's added abilities with the reputation. And so are the updated mechanics, which also includes the variability in the loot effects, does that trump my preference for the older art and art theming? And I think the answer is it does. I think this is the copy I'm going to keep. And this is something we're scheduling SeanCon for July. I think this would be a great SeanCon game. And I'll probably make sure I've got a copy, or if Empire doesn't have a copy in the library at that point, this will probably come out because again, we have a lot of people at SeanCon. We're all trying to play games together. We break up every now and then, but it's great to play games as a group, and this plays up to 6. So yeah, I think this is solid. I think this is a very solid update, second edition of the game. I think Stonemeier has done a fantastic job on the production. Again, there's that little preference quibble that I have, but I think for most people that's going to be a non-issue. I definitely encourage people to check this out. If you've never played the original, pick this up. It's a great game. That's Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. As I record, I'm at 43 minutes. I talked for 43 minutes straight. Who would have thought I was capable of that? Certainly not me. It'll be shorter once I edit this down. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it. Again, solid 5 for Libertalia Winds of Galecrest.
You are listening to the Dukes of Dice, proud members of the Dice Tower Network. For other great shows in the network, check out dicetowernetwork.com. Back to Alex and Sean for this week's Dukes Double Take.
All right, I'm back here for the Duke's Double Take.
I'm here too.
What?
I'm here too.
Yeah, well, I know, but you didn't leave, presumably.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're back. Okay, well, we're both back. We could both be back.
You have to leave to be back.
I disagree.
Okay. What?
Yeah.
This is a bizarre start to this segment.
So
anyway,
if a show goes to commercial, nobody left. They're still there on set, like a live show, like a late night or. All right. Anyway, let's do the double take. Alex.
Okay. Interesting.
You're back. Alex is back. Everybody.
I'm back. Yep. Definitely. We're gonna look
transition to the slow clap.
Oh, okay. What is going on?
I'm tired.
All right. Yeah, okay. We're looking back at episode 245, Frequency Flyer Miles, where we reviewed Pan Am. Not just the two of us, though, Sean. Joining us was Daniel Justin Michael King, the Game Boy Geek.
Yes.
So the three of us reviewed Pan Am. Dan gave this one a 5. called it a great next step game. Not quite gateway, but a good, once you've played a couple of games, this is a good one to graduate to. Had good things to say about it. I gave this one a 5 as well. I said there's really very little wrong with it. It just didn't have enough quite enough high points to really get to that 6 on the Duke scale. And as Sean mentioned during the review, probably we rate everything here at the Dukes of Dice on a 6-point scale. So 5,
more
pretty
than
good.
likely.
6 would be contender for the top 10. Any case, I did mention at the time that this was one that I wanted to play with my dad at some point. We'll get back to that here in a moment. Sean, you gave this one an incredibly high 5. You were the highest of all of us on this. You would have given this a 5.5 if you believed in decimals, but you don't. So you just stuck with
fake.
Yeah, just stuck with incredibly high 5. The only real knocks on this, you said it was a great light economic game. The only knocks you had were you didn't think it played well enough at 2, and Power Grid felt like it did this kind of game just slightly better for you. So
yeah, Power Grid would be a 6.
Yeah, you gave Power Grid you said that at the time. You gave Power Grid a 6. This isn't quite there, but it was dang close. So universal 5s across the board. That was the score. Sean, have you played this game since?
I've played it one time since. It stayed in the collection, and I don't. Well, and that's the hard thing is, again, I don't know how often it's going to get played here at the house because it's not a game Mariah would necessarily like. Maybe when she was a little bit older, who knows? But certainly, I mean, that's something we might play at SeanCon. It is a fantastic light economic game. It's got the worker placement where it's the type of worker placement where, generally speaking, you place something out and it's an initiative for resolution at the end of the round, right? So it's not an immediate worker placement, and then you get the effect. So I like that difference. It stays at a very solid 5. I mean, I still think of this game very fondly. I would happily play it if our coin game were to fall through tomorrow night and someone were to say, "Hey, let's play Pan Am," I'd be like, "Heck yeah, absolutely." What's a heck yeah? What's the heck yeah? That's a 5.
That's a 5. Yeah,
that's a 5. There you go. So yeah. I mean, I think
heck yeah is actually a 6.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
what's a 5?
So
what's a 5 then on the Abbey scale?
It's a yeah.
It's a yeah is a 5?
Yep.
It's not like yeah.
No, and because it goes to it's heck yeah, sure, okay, meh, no.
Is 4 really a sure?
Yeah, it's a sure.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Oh, like a positive sure.
Okay. I'm like, sure. Sure. Sure.
You need to adjust at the Abbey scale is a point lower for you based on how you're inflecting these words. What's above a heck yeah? What are you saying?
Yeah, boy.
No, you are absolutely not saying that.
Why not?
Not a chance.
I say that once a week.
I don't believe you.
I swear to you, I say that at least once a week. I said that earlier tonight when I was drafting Magic Online and I got my 3rd Spirited Companion passed to me. I was like, yeah, boy.
That's embarrassing.
Do you want to know what a Spirited Companion is,
Alex? Not really. No. And in fact,
So,
I'm going to pivot from here and talk about Pan Am. I have played it since. I've taught it to folks since. I still really enjoy it. It's still a great game. It's not going anywhere from the collection. So yeah, stays at a 5 for me too. Not a ton else to say. It is a phenomenal game, and if you have not had a chance to check it out yet, you should because it's real good. Adam Dalton on the Guild disagrees with all of us. Adam Dalton says Pan Am has been played a couple of times. I don't remember a whole lot about the game other than I remember it lasting a bit longer than I wanted it to last. However, I also remember enjoying the deeper than expected gameplay. I'd absolutely play it again. Still with memories like that, I guess a 3 on the Ducal scale is where it should be. Well, Adam, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe
boo, Adam, boo. How dare you have an opinion different than me and Alex and Dan King, the Game Boy Geek.
Adam, just remember that I didn't boo you. I disagree with your opinion.
He boo earns you.
A reference I know. Well, in any case, that's the
no. Wait, didn't you say more to say about your dad and Pan Am?
Just very briefly, it didn't happen. I didn't play with him yet. So
Oh, okay.
I'd still like to. And
Oh.
with him being in St. Louis more frequently, what with Ruby being here and them having a place, I think it's likely to happen at some point. Though cribbage has kind of taken over that part of the family too, where that seems to be the go-to game when we're all together. So too much cribbage, not enough board games for my liking. But still one I think he'd really enjoy. Getting him to kind of take that in. He's not the biggest fan always of learning a new game. So I think he would really enjoy this one, but getting over that hump would be a little bit dicey. So there you go. A little bit of turbulence, perhaps, on the road to playing that one with my dad. So yeah, it didn't happen yet, but I still hope it will.
What is happening?
What?
I don't know. You made it sound like there was like a whole story that was going to happen. More on that later.
Well, I mean, from my time in TV news, Sean, I can tell you I'm an expert at making promises before a break or a pause of something and then really dramatically under-delivering.
Are there common household goods that are in your home right now that are killing you? We'll tell you after the break.
Remember that question we asked you before the break? The answer is, not really. Anyway, that's sometimes with TV news, you would have, they were called teases. Those are called teases at the end of a break. And you would write a 5 to 10 second long tease. Usually 5 is better, 5-second long tease for a story that was 15 to 20 seconds. That wasn't much more than the tease itself.
The tease.
But I will say, I would try to actively avoid we called it the moron tease, because it's just you're saying more on this after the break. And there's just not a ton to it. So anyway, a little bit of inside TV news stuff. Sean, this is by the way, TV news wise, this is an interesting year. I will have been.
Oh, okay.
Well,
never mind. Thought you were going to say something else.
No. I was going to say I will have been out of TV news for longer than I was in it total between Lansing and Albuquerque. I left TV news in late 2016. I was in that business for 6 years and a few months, and yeah, so this is sort of the year. I guess it would be early 2023. But I don't know. Wait, what year is this? Yeah, 2022. Okay. Man.
Well, someday I would like to say, well, I've been out of the law longer than I was in the law.
That's a much bigger hill.
Yeah, much bigger.
Oof. Well, anyway, that's our very off-course and loopy Duke's double take of Pan Am. Basically stays at a 5 for both of us. And hope to play it more in the year to come, actually. Before we wrap things up, an equally loopy look at the best of the rest of the names we didn't pick, but could have. First up from Joshy and Gurr. What?
The names we didn't pick, but we could have. Just so everyone knows, it's possible that we could have picked these other names.
There is a parallel universe where everything is identical, except we have picked different names than the ones that we picked, and these could have been those. With infinite universes, one of these names was the name of this episode.
Are you saying that this is the darkest timeline?
Depends on your opinion of the episode title.
Okay.
I think it's unlikely to be the darkest.
Okay.
But where on the spectrum it actually is, I'm not sure.
So at the end of the episode, not the end. Oh my God, that's a spider that just dropped down in front of me. Oh boy, that's a scary spider. I'm gonna keep an eye on it, and then I'm gonna put it in this cup.
Sean,
and dearest spider, go away. I got it.
I actually could see that on camera. That was impressive.
No, I'm good. We're good down here. How are you? I got him.
Okay, wait.
Thank you.
Sean,
Love you.
Sean,
all of that's staying in.
I know. Sean, I need you to swear or affirm under penalty of the duchy that I can tell you I haven't had any alcoholic beverages the evening we're recording this. Have you?
Yeah, I'm just on my second. My second Marble Desert Fog. Marble, proud sponsor of the Dukes of Dice.
Oh man.
Desert Fog is it's a hazy India Pale Ale. It's only 6.8% alcohol by volume.
Sean, you mentioned this, but there is a local brewery in St. Louis called Four Hands, which does tremendous stuff.
Yeah.
And they currently have a mango lemonade hard seltzer that is sponsored by the Cam and Strick podcast. It's in collaboration with a local hockey podcast.
That's what we need. We need a brewery collaboration.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen.
Okay, get on it. Anyway, the best of the rest.
Woo!
The names we didn't pick, but with enough infinite timelines we could have.
Here's the deal. The spider came down.
Oh, God.
The spider's like, stop making fun of Alex. Just let him do his thing. What's wrong with you? Cut it out. Like it was like shaking one of its 8 appendages at me. Like, what's your deal, boy?
It turns out the 15% includes all spiders. Referring to the 15% of listeners who agree with me, including apparently a whole bunch of spiders.
Well, all right, best of the rest. Take 7.
First up from Joshy and Kerr, the Pirates of Penzance, referring to the Pirates of Penzance musical, mixing in Pan Am in there. And Sean, you rolled your eyes when you saw this one, but I thought it was pretty good.
Have you ever watched or partook in any sort of Gilbert and Sullivan musical?
This is one of those shows was very model of a modern Major General.
Yeah.
That song. Yeah. Perhaps even from that musical.
I think it's from Pirates of Penzance. All of my Gilbert and Sullivan knowledge comes from The West Wing. I've never actually seen any musicals.
I haven't either. Not in full. I'm familiar with some songs, but not.
Sure.
I don't think in full. I'd have to look up their full back catalog, Sean. Anyway.
Indeed. And then
right.
and then Nate Simons suggested Boeings and Booty. Boeing's the type of airplane. And then Booty, the loot from Libertalia.
From Pirates?
Did you know that I had a class in law school, Alex? Which was literally my favorite class in law school, that was about how to draft contracts. Not the law of contracts, which is like a first-year class, but how to draft contracts. And we did it with a former Boeing in-house counsel. And we drafted this, like, as a class, this like 300-page contract for like $600 million sale of airplanes.
Sean, all I can think of in this moment is there is typically a song that plays behind the best of the rest.
Yeah.
How many times have you had to loop this song?
Yeah. Oh, that. Okay. No, it's going to cut out every time. Every time.
Okay, good.
Little record scratch.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, next up, Kyle
The record,
Kelly.
by the way, is 2 loops. I think we can beat 2 loops.
Yeah. Next up, Kyle Kelly with By Air or By Sea, referring long-term to, American lore. The person who said, what if by air, what if by sea?
Paul Revere?
Paul Revere, the British are coming in planes.
Well, we have had a president who may have thought that. Not too recently.
One if by land, 2 if by sea, 3 if by air, 4 if from space. The Paul Revere story.
Well, that's still by air, though, because they got to come through the atmosphere.
Referring to... Okay, 4 if by teleportation. How about that?
Sure, that works. Absolutely.
Okay. Excellent. What other modes of 5 if coming from underground? So not by land, but by under the land.
Subterranean.
Okay. What else? We need 6. It's a good show. You need a 6th one.
Okay. So, well, I mean, everything else. Time travel, which is slightly different than teleportation.
Ooh. All right, we'll accept it. Judges
All right,
ruled,
perfect.
we will accept that.
This is
okay.
this is the worst best of the rest.
Or the best of the rest. I don't know. What timeline are we in where this one is come about?
I think we have clearly demonstrated that we are in the darkest timeline. All right. Chris K suggested the Windy Blue Yonder will play off the Wild Blue Yonder, which I believe that's the Air Force like fight song, I believe.
Yeah.
And the Windy, which at first I was like, oh yeah, because there's wind in sails, but then you're like, no, the name Winds of Galecrest is literally in the title of Libertalia. So whoops.
Yep. And then finally, Sean, this was your favorite. This was your personal favorite, and if I weren't so uptight, this might have been the episode title. But it isn't. Blaine Miley, in case of plundering, your seat cushion may be used as a swashbuckling device.
There have been so many times, Alex, where I'm like, oh, that's funny, that's clever, but it's too long. It's not going to fit on the episode image. It's just not going to happen. And I said, you know what? All of that be damned. Let's do it, Alex. Let's do it. And then you were like, no, we're not doing that.
As always, I've stifled your creativity, Sean.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the opposite of the one-word title, right? So now we need the
longest title?
Longest title ever.
Okay, so
that's the new challenge.
Well, so we don't know how long the existing belt holder is for longest title ever. But I'd say that's the new challenge, because we've had some one-worders, and we've had some really successful one-word titles, not just from your alt account. But I think we could see some contenders for longest. I think that's the new challenge. That's the new gauntlet to throw to the Dutchie.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the best of the rest, and oh my goodness, what madness have we wrought? Big Tuesday energy. Sean, how's that spider doing?
Good. He's fine. I just realized that the seal. So I've got a cup inside of a cup, and I realized the seal isn't as solid as I thought it was. So let's wrap this up.
Sean, I'm going to paint a word picture. This is a plastic cup and a sonic foam cup that's sort of on top, sealing this spider into a dark fate.
Well,
right.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't know.
Sean, how do you handle spiders? Because in my case, I tend to actually let them go outside, and Abby tends to do the exact opposite. Are you team spider salvation or team spider destroyer?
Spider destroyer.
Okay, that tracks. That seems about right.
Well, we've got black widows and stuff. Like,
we've got dangerous spiders. We've got recluses.
You have
out
nothing.
Here. We've got dangerous spiders.
You have nothing.
I think we have more unique species of spiders here than you do, if I had to guess.
I seriously doubt that.
Ooh.
We're the Wild West, baby.
Yeah, but there's no water there.
All right, we're going to look this up.
Wait, right now?
Yeah, unique.
Now, wait, are you doing in Albuquerque or in the state
species,
of New Mexico?
New Mexico.
Okay. Just checking.
I don't think a city, I don't think you can go off a city. Spiders of New Mexico. Google. This is terrible.
This is phenomenal
1, 2,
podcasting.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Spiders of St. Louis.
Sean, no, Missouri. If you're going statewide, you got to go statewide.
Sorry, Missouri. Yeah. I don't.
30. 30 unique species.
12.
No, 30.
I'm looking on petkeen.com,
I'm
which
looking
is the
on
authority.
I'm looking on spiderid.com. The ultimate in spider.
No. So that's just about spiders. Petkeen is about all types of pets. So it's a bigger umbrella.
What? Pets? Why would I talk about pets?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're talking about wild animals.
All right, that's going to do it, everybody, for episode 270. Thanks again to Steve O'Rourke for providing us the title, The Unfriendly Skies. I'm more tired than anything else, Alex. So until next time, this is Sean.
And Alex.
And Duke you later, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded in the Dutchie on March 8th, 2022. Our theme music, derived by Carbohydro M from his Prime Legacy album, The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com, and for all latest Tadachi, go to DukesofDice.com. Find us on Twitter at Dukes of Dice. Join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild. Find us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsor, Game Toppers LLC. Remember, if it's not a showstopper, it's not a game topper. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Until then, game on.